Welcome to another edition of Talking Sports and Fitness with Zeke. I'm Zeke, also known as Mike Zielinski. My guest today is Matt Coldren, who should need no introduction to Berks County basketball fans. He's entering his 16th season as the head coach at Wilson. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Mike, for having me.
Hard to believe because I remember when you were a young and assistant in the program coaching my sons as they went through the JVs to the varsity, and now you're the grizzled veteran. But you look the same.
Thank you. I don't feel the same, but I definitely, hopefully, look the same.
You had, you do. You had a nice season last year. You had a nice late season run. You made the 3 Quad A semis. Finished 18-11, which was a nice bounce back season because you kind of had a downer the year before, which followed a great season. You won the county championship in 13-14, and you won 23-8. So you had to be pleased with last year, right?
Yeah, I was very pleased, especially with the lack of experience we had with the boys. We knew we had talent. It was just going to be a matter of time before they gained experience and gelled together a little bit, and I think we gelled at the right time.
Now you do lose Christian Sloyd.
Sload. Yeah,
I'm
Christian
sorry.
Sload, great athlete.
Yeah, you know, basketball isn't even his best sport,
no,
right?
It's not.
Soccer,
it's not.
And he got a full ride, I think, to Penn State to play soccer.
Truthfully, track probably could have been his best sport if he would have did track. Because he could run like a deer, but he didn't run track.
But he was an athlete.
Oh, without a doubt. One of the best overall athletes I've coached.
Yeah.
I can't think of too many kids who could run and jump like he did.
Now, what do your prospects? I know as we tape, obviously the season hasn't started. I know you had a couple guys made all Division I honorable mention last year. David, pronounce his last name.
Awurumbi.
Yeah, and I think I can handle Michael Jackson. He was the other one.
Yeah, he can't sing though.
And you have some of the other players you have coming back to help you.
We had a really good summer with the returning players coming back. Mason McElroy, who most likely will run the point for us. Mm-hmm. Really matured over the summer. He played a lot of minutes for us towards the end of last year, and I think he was a lot of the reasons why we had the success we had at the end of the last season. He was a great leader, but he had a great summer for us this summer, as most of the kids did. David filled out a little bit. He was a little wiry last year, put a little bit of weight on. Brian Wright and Fode Jala also played a little bit for us last year. They're both very good football players.
Yeah, and I noticed on last year's team anyway, both this year's quarterbacks were on your roster. I believe.
Yeah, they are. Grayson Klein and Connor Yerger both. So we have a lot.
It usually happens that the quarterback at Wilson or quarterbacks at Wilson usually are somewhere on the basketball roster.
They typically are. They are. You know, it's usually a good athlete, smart, heady kid. And we happen to have 2 of them this year.
Now, how much, because I know in the past it's hurt you in the early season games. If the football team has a great run, obviously, those guys aren't practicing with you.
No, they're not.
So you have a little bit of a chemistry problem, in the beginning.
Typically, we do. We usually have. It takes us a little while to get started. Traditionally, if you look at our schedules over the years, the first 2 or 3 weeks we struggled a little bit. We may win games, but they're ugly.
Yeah.
But I've told people all along. You go through life once. I love having the kids that play multiple sports. I really wouldn't want it any other way. It's nice having a few kids who just concentrate on basketball, which I have this year, which will kind of help us with the transition into going to this season, because we're about half and half of kids I expect to make the varsity. About half the kids are football players, and the other half are not. So we'll have a good balance of kids that we'll have from the start, and then kids who will join us after the football season's over.
Do you work with your AD to maybe hold off some of the marquee non-leaguers to a little later in the season?
I wouldn't say marquee. My wife criticizes me a lot because
that's what wives do, man.
Yeah, but she would like me to not play. I love looking for the best teams to play.
Yeah. No, I just meant like early on.
Right.
To your
My point is, we used to have, when your sons played for us, we had a tip-off tournament.
Yeah, I remember
I
that.
have gotten rid of that just because we need more. I pushed the start date back with my AD.
Yeah.
So most teams start opening weekend. We'll start usually the week after, 4 or 5 days after everyone else starts. Just to get, just to get a couple more practices in, and it's benefited us the last couple of years.
Yeah, because a lot of schools sometimes will have that problem with the delayed football season or the extended football season, but Wilson's perennial with that.
Without a doubt.
More than most schools.
Yeah, I can't tell you a season I've had everybody the first day of practice.
Yeah.
I'm sure I had some point, but I can't tell you exactly when it was.
Yeah.
Usually it's 2 or 3 weeks later that the guys
And then
join us.
they have to get in basketball shape.
They do, and usually when they come to us, not only in basketball shape, they're beat up.
Yeah.
Football's a tough sport.
Yeah.
They're going at it from the middle of August until the middle of November, end of November, and they're banged up and beat up, so it takes a while.
Yeah.
Usually by January, they're finally into basketball mode.
Now, speaking of this year's players, he was on the JVs last year. He's going to be at this taping, like you said, probably 7th or 8th man. Kyle Coldren, who I believe is related to you, right?
Yes, that's
your
my son.
Your oldest boy?
That's my oldest boy, yes.
You looking forward to coaching him?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I really am. He's a great boy. Since birth, he's been nothing but a joy for us. He's never a problem. And he's been a gym rat since I've been coaching.
I was going to say that.
Bringing him along.
So he really knows the game,
He
right?
does.
From
He
your,
knows
especially
the
the way
game.
you like to have it played.
Without a doubt. He's very skilled. But I'm just looking forward to getting to spend a lot of time with him in a different aspect than just being at home and whatever else. I'm not harassing him about schoolwork or whatever, but I'm really looking forward to it. And
how tall is he?
He's about 5'9".
Okay.
He's slightly shorter than I am. I'm not sure if he's hit his full growth spurt yet. He worked really hard in the off season to get stronger.
Yeah.
He was tiny last year, weight-wise and height-wise, and he really worked hard. And I'm proud of him for how hard he worked, and I think it's going to benefit him this winter.
So will you guys talk hoops after maybe a hard loss or after any game? Yeah.
I think it's one of those situations where I'll have to feel out.
Yeah.
It's hard on him. I'm sure it's harder on him being the coach's son than it is for me, having my son play for me.
But the nice thing about that is because you can coach and still see your son play.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Because there are a lot of coaches who will get out of coaching for a while because they want to see their kids play, especially if they don't coach in the same district. They live in.
That thought crossed my mind, but Lloyd Wolf, I had a conversation with Lloyd Wolf a few years ago. Just a random conversation about how he enjoyed coaching. Did he enjoy coaching Trace? And he told me I'd be crazy if I didn't take the chance to coach my son.
Yeah.
It was probably...
And that kind of worked out. He was not only an excellent basketball player, but
he was a great
But
player.
isn't he like a super doctor now or something?
He's my doctor. That's
is
why
he
I
really?
look good.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, because you think I remember him playing high school basketball. Now he's a doctor.
He was a good high school player. He was a better college basketball player. He had a great career at Susquehanna. But so Lloyd kind of, I thought about what he said, and he's right. This is a great opportunity for my son and I to bond in a different way than
Lloyd. By the way,
would.
Most people should know Lloyd, but he was a very long time head coach at Holy Name, and quite a character.
Oh, great character.
I loved hanging out with Lloyd.
Great character.
Speaking of character, you did something last year which I thought was really remarkable, which doesn't happen very often. Reading High is obviously your big rivals, and and every year it seems like you go head to head with them for the Division I title, and I'll get to that in a minute. But after last season, and obviously they had a magical season, they beat you for the third time. No disgrace in that last year.
Not at all.
And after the game, you asked to talk to the team after you addressed the Reading High team. And why did you do that, and what did you say?
Yeah, it's a very heated rivalry.
Yeah.
But from my point of view, it's a respect rivalry too. I've respected Reading since I became the head coach. I've joked over the years about wanting to play them 18 times a year. It's a great place. They have great fans.
Yeah.
But of all the years I've coached, that was the best and most special team I've seen Reading ever have.
Yeah.
Just how they interacted together, how they interacted with me. Being the rival coach, there was a lot of respect from them towards me. And I just respected how hard they played. There wasn't trash talk, and it was a special group of kids.
Yeah.
It was nice to watch. It wasn't fun losing to them per se, but I just thought in today's society there's so many negative things about kids today. I thought they needed to hear something positive.
Yeah,
they were a positive group.
I applaud you for that. You know what? I've had Lonnie Walker on the show, and what I found very interesting watching Reading High last year. This guy was obviously he's a superstar on the high school level.
He is.
But he shared the ball. I mean, they were a true team.
I've not joked to him because I don't want him to hear me say this. I thought at times he was unselfish to a fault.
Yeah, he probably was.
But it's great that you have someone who wants to get his teammates involved because as the season progresses and you play better teams, your teammates need to, you need 5 guys.
You obviously, do you think Wilson Reading will be the top 2 teams again? In the
I hope. They're definitely the top team.
Yeah. Well, they got. It's interesting because they got Tyrone Nesby Jr. from Berks Conference.
Correct.
Which will really help them because they have Lonnie back, but they lost a few starters from last year.
And they've also had a very successful JV team last year too. So there's a lot of talent, but Nesby certainly helps them. But my hope as a coach is that that we're there with them, and I believe, I'm not saying we can beat them, I believe of any team in the county, we have the athletes to be able to compete with them.
Yeah.
So my hope is that we get a chance to play them in a very important game somewhere, hopefully in the Santander Arena, and it's a meaningful game.
Yeah. Or the semifinal, depending how it works, I guess. Final question: the district redid the classes. For your class and Reading's, you're 6A instead of 4A, but it's still the same heavyweights,
right? For us, it's no different.
And you're one of the smaller classes.
We are.
Which makes it difficult basketball-wise at times to go to a state title game.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. But you know what? I'm not naive. I would love to win a state title someday, but I just want the kids to learn how to work hard, have great memories, and just cherish those years that they played high school basketball for me. And I'm glad that we're 6A. Even though we're a lower end, I would rather be 6A than 5A and win it. I want to play the best. And I think in 6A you play the best.
And I think you're not even a top 5 enrollment in 6A.
No.
And this is just a district.
Yeah.
And then you get to the state level, it gets worse.
It does get worse, especially when you get District 1. There's a lot of big schools down there. But like I said, I wouldn't want it any other way.
All right. Hey, Matt Coldren, best of luck this upcoming season. Good luck coaching your son. And thanks for being on our show.
Zeke, I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Take care. And for now, this is Zeke saying goodbye. Don't forget to like us on Facebook or subscribe to the People Chronicles channel on YouTube.
These community stories are made possible in part by BCTV, Susie Ray Design, Queen City Family Restaurant, Lamar Advertising, Heidelberg Family Restaurant, Reading Air, Lions and Hole, Peanut Bar, and Kutztown University.